Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano catch-up where every Friday I take a look back at the main news, items and events within the Cardano ecosystem that caught my eye this week. If you think others can benefit, please do share it out. If I miss anything, let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you're new. Give the video a like. I do appreciate it. Let's jump into it. Starting out with a quick look at the videos that I put out on the channel this week. So I sat down with Stephen from the Vi Finance team to talk all about the DEX and bar and different features that they are building. Got some updates on the launch schedule, hoping for early May, but we should get confirmation on that in the next few days. So if you want to check out the latest on Wi-Fi, the link for that one will be down below. Then I sat down with Fahad from the Equine team, talking all about the horse racing, breeding and trading game that they are building on top of Cardano. Really interesting project. The racing part of the game should be live this summer. When that's going live, I'm going to sit down with Fahad again. But if you're interested in finding out what's going on with the project, what is the latest since the mint of the horse NFTs last year, then check that one out and find out what's coming up for the project too. Then on Wednesday night, myself and Paddy were on for the usual Wednesday night live stream, which tries to answer any questions you guys have and also talk about some of the different topics we had. That morning, the markets had a fairly decent run, and then just before the live stream, everything crashed down. We talked a bit about that with jump trading, moving a lot of funds to Binance, and some other things that are ongoing that potentially influenced it. Got into open source projects, the good, the bad, talking about different Cardano news as well as different projects and scalability within the Cardano ecosystem. Timestamps have been added into that one now too. Then we move on to Cardano 360, which happened yesterday. This is IOG's monthly recap of what's going on Cardano. So the usual host, Tim, was on to introduce the different topics. First up was Alex from Lace Wallet, talking all about the launch and everything that happened. Rudy was on to talk about the audit process and how the audit process went for Lace and kind of some of the importance of why you need to have everything audited for going live. Next was one of the most interesting parts for me personally was Vinici was on to talk about zero knowledge technology and roll-ups. Done a really good explanation of the technology. It's a fairly complex technology, but how this can work and some of the research they're doing into it in Cardano. So she used actually on a very high level for how zero knowledge proofs work. I can't find the bit there, but she used Sudoku as the example. So say you're doing a puzzle, you have the solution for it. You want to prove to someone else who's trying to do it that you have the solution, but you don't want to give them your solution. How can you do that? So that's where zero knowledge proofs come in, and it is a way that you can prove to someone else that you have the solution, but you don't actually give it to them. And obviously there's a lot more to it, but I thought that was a really easy way to understand why you would need to do this, and eventually you can evaluate it and see what the solution actually was. So check that one out if you're interested in roll-ups and scalability and where things are going. Then we had Sebastian on from the Hydra team to talk about the latest with Hydra and what's going on. We had the first head go live on mainnet earlier, actually last month now at this point, and he talks about some of the updates on it and trying to get people involved in it to start exploring what can be done with Hydra. Myself and Paddy had a bit of a discussion on Hydra in the Wednesday Cardano Crack live stream too. So if you want the latest on Hydra, that's where you get it. Then there was on-chain governance, so talking a bit about SIP 1694. We've covered that a few times here, so I won't get into it now. But if you want some of the latest on it and a bit more insight into on-chain governance, then you can check that one out. And Cardano Foundation are actually looking into on-chain governance. We're going to talk about that later in this video too. Then we had Sebastian on from Paima Studios or DC Spark. Sebastian has been on here a few times already, and with the amount of information they've been putting out lately, I'm definitely due a catch up to try and condense all of that down with Sebastian. So talking about Paima Studios, which is bringing on-chain gaming to Cardano, and not just Cardano, but lots of blockchains too. Talked about some of the partnerships they have and how fast things are really starting to take off for Paima. We then had Frederick Gregard on from the Cardano Foundation to talk about how things are going with the Cardano Foundation right now, what happened over the last year, the summary report that they put out, the 2022 report they put out last week, which we covered a small bit in last week's Cardano catch up. So if you want the latest from Frederick, that's where you can get it. That was really it for Cardano 360. And just when we were talking about roll-ups and scalability, I will share this video here. I won't play it, but I will put a link to it down below. It's a 5-minute clip taken from one of Charles's recent interviews, talking all about scalability on Cardano and the path that they're going down and why they have chosen that. And Stake with Pride is great over on Twitter for pulling these segments out of different interviews, not just for Cardano, but for other chains too. Normally where people are calling out Cardano, and he catches lots of different people out there. Then we had the World Mobile Community Update yesterday. So some of the main highlights from this, I'll put a link to it down below if you want to listen to the replay to the Twitter space. We have got an update to the roadmap. It's not exactly a roadmap, I would say, but what we have now is the work stream. And if we go over to worldmobile.io/roadmap, you can see it here. So this is everything that World Mobile are working on right now. So you can see the status of it. So you can see what they're only looking into, what's in development, what's in progress, what's going on in private testing, and what's out on the testnet, the public testnet that us as Earthnode operators are a part of, and then what's already been released. So some of the big things that I'm really looking for are the consensus mechanism. So the updates to the consensus that is down here, live consensus upgrade, which will go out onto the public testnet. So they talked about in the Twitter space about 3 to 4 weeks that we should see updates going out on the testnet. Looking forward to seeing what they are, and once we do, I will cover them here on the channel. This was another good one that I was happy to see coming out, is that we're now going to get monthly calls for Earthnode operators. This should allow me and other Earthnode operators to have the latest information on what's going on with World Mobile. We have these types of things for Cardano stake pool operators where they are monthly, sometimes bi-weekly if there are big events coming up. But this is a great way for us as Earthnode operators to get the latest on what's going on with World Mobile, give feedback too, because sometimes Earthnode operators will be able to help out with certain aspects or speed up some of the development that is ongoing. We've seen new locations, so the status successful TV whitespace field testing in Kenya. Great to see new locations coming up, and on that, the first air node has been deployed in Mozambique. And another one then was the registrations are now open for the World Mobile Android app, which is going into a beta program. I have signed up for that one this morning. If I see here, you can see the registration form. Sign up if you're interested in checking that one out. Once I get access, I will be able to cover that in an upcoming video. There's other updates in there. I would say if you want to get more updates on that, there's a great thread over here from BB on Necto Earthnode, has put together a Twitter thread on some of the main topics that come up there. I will link that one down below, as well as Farid from DApp Central done an interview with Mickey. I think it was done a few weeks ago, but it was launched this week. Some great updates on what's going on with World Mobile and the latest happening there. So links to all of them will be down below. So then moving into bridges for Cardano, and the Rosen bridge has gone into a public test, and this is an Ergo bridge. This is coming from the Ergo side. So this is moving your assets from Cardano over to Ergo. And you can see if you're going from Cardano to Ergo, some of the tokens you can do first is you could bring Ergo over, Comet, Hosky, or ADA. And in time, I would say there will be more assets added into this. It's great to see, for me, it's great to see interoperability, that we can bridge assets between different chains. I will be testing that out and maybe do a full video on the different options that we have on Cardano right now. Another one that is live is the Chainport bridge. So anyone who had Kopi tokens on Binance might have already used this to bring your Kopi tokens from Cardano or from the Binance chain into Cardano. And I'm not sure what assets they are working on right now. Still not that many assets on the Chainport side, but hopefully we'll see more coming in soon. Multi-chain are also building a bridge for Cardano that would allow us to interact with other chains, other EVM chains, not other EVM chains, because Cardano isn't EVM. You also have Milkomeda, where you can bridge your assets from Cardano into Milkomeda and then send them to other chains from there, or vice versa. Bring your assets into Milkomeda and then bring them into Cardano. There was some updates on the one-chain bridge who were on the last Cardano 360, not the one yesterday. Here you can see the Cardano bridge makes it possible to move your ADA to any EVM chain, move your Cardano tokens to any EVM, and also move your coins and ERC20 tokens from any EVM chain into Cardano. There was one other interest. Now this one is out at the minute. There is a bug bounty out there for anyone testing. Do I have the testnet? So you can see the testnet is up here. When you go in, you choose the asset you want to move. So I chose ADA. Then I could move that from Cardano into Ethereum or into one chain. And then if you do it the other way, it's going to ask me to connect MetaMask. I won't do that now, but you can move, if you have it on other chains, you can move them into Cardano. And I would expect, again, the assets that you can move to grow over time. One interesting part I've seen from one chain coming out this week is Circle's cross-chain transfer protocol. So they've launched with one chain as a launch partner. And what happens here is when you go to move your USDC from one chain to another, the USDC is burned on the source chain. You get confirmation from Circle that the USDC has been burned on that chain, and then it's minted on the destination chain. This is something I think is really good for bridges, because we've seen bridge hacks where generally what happens is the smart contract that holds the assets on one side gets hacked and the funds are taken out of that. So when that happens, the funds that are on the chain you have bridged to, them chains don't have, or them tokens don't have anything to back them up anymore, so they become worthless. With this, there wouldn't be any assets sitting in a smart contract to be exploited. So at that point, this is a solution I would like to see rolled out for other things. Potentially this may mean we could see USDC on Cardano at some point, and maybe even native USDC. I know there's different reasons why we haven't seen it yet, but hopefully at some point we will get that as well. I know some people will say we don't want it, but the more stable coins we have, the better the trading environment we can have on Cardano. On stablecoins, then we got updates on ZED this week. The ZED is going to be coming to Milkomeda C1 for Cardano. And it's not going to be the ZED that we have on Cardano bridged over to Milkomeda. They're going to be implementing their own version of ZED. So the first version of ZED that we've seen was Sigma USD on Emurgo in Q1 2021. And then we got Coty's ZED on Cardano in Q1 2023, which is the one most people will be familiar with. But Milkomeda are going to be implementing their own version of ZED. And if you look over on the testnet, it is live now. It's going to work very similar to how ZED works on Cardano. Looks like it's going to be backed up by ADA as the reserve coin. One of the things that jumps out at me, so they will be using the same 400% minimum to an 800% maximum to decide what can be minted and what can be burned at different points. But you will always be able to burn your reserve coin if you are not affecting the reserve ratio. And the way you can do that is if you are burning, so you would have to burn ZED and burn the reserve coin to be able to burn your reserve coin if the minimum is below 400%. It means that at any point you can burn your reserve, you just have to be able to burn ZED along with that to make sure that you're not dropping the reserve ratio any lower. Like ZED we have on Cardano, when it's between 400 and 800, you can mint and burn either assets without having to use the other one. So I will do a full video on that fairly soon, maybe do a comparison of what we have on Cardano and what's going to be there. But good to see that there is progression on that one, and maybe each instance will be able to learn from the other one. So on DC Spark, I suppose Sebastian posted this one here, or he was retweeting Dead Pixels. So Dead Pixels have announced their partnership with Paima Studios, that they're going to be utilizing the cutting edge Web3 game engine to develop PXL Wars. So Dead Pixels will be a very popular NFT project on Cardano, and it's great to see that they will be utilizing Paima Studios for building their game. Now we've seen there's lots of different posts from Sebastian over the last while about different projects coming in, getting partnerships and looking to build using the Paima Studios engine. So hopefully I will be able to get an interview fairly soon with Sebastian. I'll put that on my list to reach out to him today. Next, we have the Cardano Emurgo build 2023. So all the details for the hackathon. So there is $2 million worth of prizes up for this. So you can see that the details, if you want these, I will put a link to it down below, but it has started now, the timeline. So hackathon starts the 27th of April, which is yesterday, but you do have a full month as far as I can see. So yeah, up until the end of May, they will be accepting submissions. So potentially some funding opportunities for early stage projects who are looking to build on Cardano. I will leave the links for that one down below this one. Next, some Cardano Foundation updates. So I mentioned earlier in the video that the Cardano Foundation are looking into Voltaire and looking to implement on-chain voting for Cardano. So I'll leave a link to this article down below, and it's what they're going to be doing involving stake pool operators and allowing these stake pool operators to vote on certain parameters on the network. Now, I haven't seen the exact questions that they're going to be proposing or the options that we will have as SPOs for voting on this. Once the details are all out, I will be sure to highlight them in videos here and show how the process is going to work. Which you can see that they're going on to testnet in the next week or so. There's going to be a few calls with SPOs, so I should get more details on this over the next week or two, and maybe the first on-chain vote happening towards the end of May. So I will keep you posted on this and how it's all going to work. You can see down here that it will be publishing the poll first, allowing SPOs to cast their ballots, and then the votes will be made public, full transparency and on-chain voting, where delegators of them pools will be able to look. If they don't agree with what the SPO has voted on, then they will be able to change their delegation before the actual snapshot happens, because delegation is what is going to be important for this. The more delegation in pools, the more weight that the votes from that SPO will have. I will cover that more when we see what the actual votes are going to be and keep you posted on it, but I will leave a link to the article down below. On the Cardano Summit 2023, tickets are now out. So like before, there's going to be a networking evening to kick it all off. Then there's going to be a 2-day summit with different events happening on both days. The networking evening, the 2-day summit, is going to be free. You can come in here and reserve your tickets. There's 2 events that do look really good. The desert dining experience will happen on the Friday. That one, the early bird is $89 for that. And then it looks like the Gala Awards, which is going to happen at the Burj Khalifa, is going to be $155 to $200, depending on if you have a normal or a VIP ticket. So anyone interested in them, the link for that will be down below. It's just under summit.cardano.org. Next up, we have Liquid Finance adding some transparency. Now, I know I've called out in other videos where we didn't have enough transparency on certain aspects of what was going on with Liquid, but this one I really like. Is what they're doing is, for increased transparency with the community, they're utilizing ADA handle, and they're going to be putting ADA handles into each of the wallets that are linked to the Liquid Finance token allocation. So you can see down here, they have identified what each of the wallets are. If you go to something like Sea Explorer, you can see the biggest holders of the tokens, and you will be able to see that these ones here are the 4 biggest wallets holding LQ. So they have identified what they are. So people interested in following what happens, these tokens can go in and see the transactions out of these different wallets, see where they're going, and if they think something isn't right, then they know where it's coming from. Say the team tokens, the user distribution, the staking, or the treasury. Now, when I did share this, do I have it here? It was pointed out that Igon have done this before, where they have used ADA handle to put the handle into the different wallets, so it identifies what each of the different addresses are. I think this is a great step. I would love to see other projects doing this to bring more transparency into it. Then we have the does Cardano need a fee market? So we got the research paper out last week. I reshared this tweet here from Jay Shy, and we talked about it Wednesday night with Paddy, where it looks at the input-output research on a tiered or a fee market on Cardano, but a tiered fee market. So I won't get into it here because I think I'm going to do a full video on it, but I will leave a link to this one down below. Extremely high level. It's basically where you would split your block up, where right now with Cardano, it is a first in, first out method where everybody pays the same fee for a transaction. The fee doesn't determine how quickly your transaction is processed, which is fine when things are slower and if you're just sending funds around to other people. But when you have DeFi applications where they have transactions that need to be in the next block, need to be settled as quick as possible, it's all about splitting up the block, where a certain part of the block would still just be for anyone paying the normal amount of fees. Them transactions get processed in that route, and then you also have parts of the block reserved for people who pay a higher fee. I think this really is a good compromise between a full fee market, which is something like you have on Bitcoin or Ethereum, where it's the highest fees get processed first and then it keeps working down to the lower fees. With this, you would have where the lower fees still get processed in every block, but if there's a massive inflow of transactions, then the block is split and you do have the more expense, or the people who pay a bigger fee get processed in a certain part of the block, but you still have the cheaper ones or the normal transaction fees getting processed in every block too. I seen this one there earlier as well, that the Nunet Testnet public alpha is coming out today. So Friday as I record this, the testnet for Nunet is coming out. If anyone wants to check that out, see what the latest is with Nunet, you can check out the link over there on Twitter. I will leave the link for that one down below. Then looking at NFTs, there's lots of talk about NFTs are dead on Cardano or dying, and definitely the floor prices have been falling down for NFT projects if you're following them. But I was just taking a look at some of the top sales for the last 7 days, and there's definitely still some interest there when people are spending the types of money that they are spending. You can see one of the Ape Society, one of the kings in the Ape Society, sold for 100,000 ADA 4 days ago. You see a Clay Nation here selling for 66.7k ADA 5 days ago. Earthnode yesterday for 63k ADA. Then more Clay Nation and Ape Society down here for 25 and 34k ADA. I also seen a big one on Spacebuds. Not sure why it doesn't appear there, but you can see one of the bulls in the Spacebuds collection sold for 159k ADA 5 days ago. So there definitely is still some interest there for some of the bigger projects anyway. I don't think things are dying. I think it's like the overall market. Things go through bear markets. Everybody needs to innovate a bit, and we probably will see a resurgence, maybe more downside for them, but it could be time for an NFT update video where I try and bring someone back on from the NFT community. So I might try and organize that in the next week or two. Closing out then with something I thought was important that isn't Cardano related. Well, it's every crypto related, and this is the video that Brian Armstrong put out with Paul, the main legal counsel for Coinbase, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's their response to the SEC's Wells notice, and they put their points across very well, really well articulated, makes a lot of sense. And this is, I suppose, building up the image for Coinbase for people who are outside crypto looking into this, and they look at what looks like a really solid US-based tech company that are trying to do everything right in the US, but may have to move out if things don't become clear with the SEC. They say they are going to fight this in court, that they want clarification on the laws. So overall, I think this is going to be really good for crypto. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got some value. Share it out if you did. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.